Talk Today is brought to you by Fidelity Bank. For all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Oh, I think they're doing a great job. A lot of them are.
Good afternoon, Dwayne. How are you?
Not too bad, sir.
Ladies and gentlemen,
Radio Cayman's Talk Today with Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. If you're ready to talk, we're willing to listen.
Well, I really enjoy this program today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
May God bless every person.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'm very, very grateful to our next, sort of discussion that we have scheduled. You have the opportunity to wonderfully be informed on our Money Sense program. They have agreed to join us here and talk today to elevate the discussion. So as we come back, we're going to talk about everything that is important under the sun. If you want to know about how the financial markets, the political economy interact, well, you have to join us for this next segment. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today, the Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program. We ask our listeners to avoid statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use any indecent language or make any statement which is false or misleading. Email talktoday@candw.ky or call 1-800-534-8255. Courtesy of Flow.
Cayman's #1 network that connects you to your world like never before.
Let your voice be heard. Once again, here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us. The phone lines are open, and we invite you to call and share your thoughts with us as we do, truly pay deference to our guests, Mr. Emil Kalinowski, Simon Cordry, and Dr. Amy Hubble. The idea that we get a chance to talk about the impact of the political economy in particular, and we get a chance to see how economics and finance is a daily occurrence, even more so than when we even look at the whole concept of opportunity costs. Simon, with great respect to the other two, maybe I start with you first. Good afternoon, man. Thanks so much.
How are you?
Well, listen, man, if I can't be handsome, my father said, I'll just try to be helpful. So I'm working on the second part.
There's a joke in there, isn't there? Hang on.
No, listen, life is great. I'm blessed. I'm thankful, and I'm honored truly to sit in your company because I enjoy, as I say this publicly, the Money Sense programming, but the Radio Cayman's programming in general. But we offer something for everybody all the time.
You know, we're all a little terrified sitting here because you do something very different on your show than we do on ours. You allow people to ask questions. It's much easier doing a show when no one has the opportunity to ask questions of us or counter us on any of our arguments. So this is all making us a bit nervous.
Well, no problem, man. And I would even take liberty to say this is not the CEOs at the port, and the cruise lines meetings. This is public discourse. So,
Oh, we're going to the port already, are we?
No, man. And I say that because I want us to be, as a people, to engage publicly, to question, but to be constructive, to be respectful, and to be positioned from an informed perspective to dialogue. And when I listen to the discussions that you have on Money Sense, I'm thinking, even those of us who may have an inkling of economics and finance, or those of us who have no clue, we learn. We get to be engaged, we get to be informed, and then we start to ask questions. Well, if I'm 16, for instance, am I thinking about what it'll be like when I'm 61? Or I'm now just celebrating my 45th birthday. What is it like if I'm 30 years down the road? Not just with our financial planning, but the impact that it would have on those around me that I'm responsible for now. And so that dialogue about how economics and finance interplay and the planning and preparation isn't just about today. It's about maybe the next generation.
Yeah, absolutely. I think time, and anytime you're talking about finance and economics, they go hand in hand because growing money really does sometimes take time. It takes time to either kind of compound your interest going forward, but it also takes time to sometimes decompound when you're paying down debt. And so the choices that you're making today truly can have lasting effects for generations 20, 30, 40 years down the road.
But Simon, that level of and perhaps Emil will jump in as well, right? That level
If
of...
it's a difficult question, then Emil definitely.
But no, the technical, more intellectual questions, Emil will
Okay,
take.
that's good. Good for all of us. That.
No,
He's wearing his jacket to look even
He
smarter.
looks prepared. Yeah.
Yeah, he's got notes in front of him.
The camaraderie that you guys have on the Monday Science program is amazing. The chemistry, the energy, but also the dispensation of information and the knowledge that I think we as the listeners come away with, right? But this discipline, this patience that we have with investing, you put $1 in today, in 40 years' time, hopefully inflation hasn't eroded it. But for someone, it's, you know what, I'm not really worried about literally this afternoon. Just give me to it now, because I mightn't be here this afternoon. And for others, it's, you know what, I'm not worried about 40 years. I want to think about the next generation's impact.
Yeah, humans. Well, there's a lot of very interesting psychology about this, isn't there? Where humans find it very difficult to wait until tomorrow instead of doing something today. And it's a real problem for all of us in the sense of saving enough for the future, because the future's so far away, full of uncertainty. And the idea that you have to give up something today, so you have to give up a car today or consuming something today in order to prepare for your future, a future which you may not even ever reach. That's a really difficult psychological thing to do. But saying that if you can overcome that psychological barrier, it's incredibly important to do so. And I think that, Amy may remember this, or maybe Emil, but who was it who did the experiments on children with sweets, and saying if you give a child a sweet today, or give it the opportunity for 2 or 3 sweets in an hour, and then they looked at those same children 20, 30 years in the future, and those that were able to give up something today had actually performed on average better in their lives in terms of their financial well-being, because of their ability to sacrifice on something today and wait until tomorrow for something that's better.
Deferred gratification.
Yeah, it's that study where you put that marshmallow right in front of a 4-year-old and you film them and they're just sitting on their hands like, oh, I want to eat it so bad, which is exactly what adults do too.
Was that a same study that indicated that you asked them, did they eat it? Nope. It was a similar study that did the same thing in terms of their trust, their behavior and like, but the deferred gratification, do I have this now, this bowl of M&Ms, or do I wait till tomorrow? For some of us, it's now. Right, Emil? I want it now.
Well, it depends on the candy. Right now we're assuming it's a marshmallow, but if it was a Kit Kat bar, I would sacrifice my children for it. I'm not waiting. But I have my own opinions on the matter. Yeah. But I don't think I've been around on the planet long enough to have any, serious wisdom to share on this matter. I would turn to Amy.
She's been there long?
Not only does she have her opinions, but
it's very bad as a marshmallow.
She has a business where she gets different people coming to her with different problems. So she has a wide experience of real life problems that, through her business, she's seen it all. So I think we should ask Amy that question.
And we're not saying that we're asking Amy because she eats lots of marshmallows. That's not the reason, Emil, is it?
Maybe.
No comment.
Well, that's the thing. We're just now finding out that it's not all about the numbers when it comes to success in investing, and especially success in long-term investing, which is what the majority of the middle class or most people need to do, is they need to save their money from their current income for the future when they will not be able to work. And that's what we're learning, is it's less about which stock that you buy, or which company you're going to invest in here or there, or the exact technicals of portfolio management that we around this table have put so much years and expert into trying to understand. Is we should have just all been going to psychology school and learning how to change people's behaviors and different models that help to incentivize or not incentivize the correct behavior, which is starting early and saving a little bit each month and just waiting.
Well, go back to the marshmallow experiment, and hopefully those of us who are not aware of it may, I say this carefully but deliberately, too many times we spend too much time looking at things online that have no value. The psychology of human behavior, if we could research it and see how that affects us. But that particular experiment, is it then that there are some of us that are wired to make that level of sacrifice, and then there are those of us who maybe we're so laissez-faire, so nonchalant about life that it doesn't matter?
Well, it's an important one. Someone who's listening to this may say, well, maybe I'll go home tonight and I'll give my kids a couple of sweets and see what the outcome is. And yes, it's true that some people are more disposed towards being able to think that sort of way, but you can absolutely train somebody.
Mm-hmm.
So you can absolutely encourage someone to think sensibly. And so people who go home and do this experiment with their kids shouldn't automatically think their kids are going to be stars or non-stars in the future because of this. You can start inculcating that behavior in them, and the earlier you do, the better off they will be in life as a result of learning those behavioral traits.
All right. When we come back from the break, let's ask about it. And I used to joke with a former finance minister that every student from the first day of class should be introduced to economics and finance because it's a daily occurrence. Now, is it that we don't have these discussions early enough in our schools, in our homes, not just the terminology, but the actual concepts of it, so that they understand, put aside now, make provision, and start to introduce them to. And from that perspective, as we go through, let's look at some of the things on the geopolitical landscape. Let's look at it locally. Let's look at the impact. Maybe we get some stock tips. Invest heavily into Susan's portfolio. No, just kidding. The phone lines are open if you want to call and share your thoughts with us as we invite you to be a part of it. Gentlemen, Dr. Amy, I'm honored to really truly sit here with you, because if we can have this publicly, maybe more of us will start to be inclined to consider the impact of our decisions. All right, 949-8037 or 1-800-534-8255. Please stay tuned for Talk Today.
Kirk Freeport's Black Friday weekend sale is bigger than ever, with up to 50% off an incredible selection of watches, jewelry, and accessories. And Kirk Freeport is giving early access to the sale on Thursday night, starting at 5 p.m. Bayshore Mall and Cardinal Avenue will stay open until 8 p.m., and the Strand will remain open until 9 p.m. Get unbeatable discounts from brands including John Hardy, Roberto Coin, Swarovski, Bulgari, Chopard, Marco Bisigo, Brogian, Masica, Doves, Ippolita, Lagos, Kipling, and many more. Plus, take an additional 10% off all non-branded merchandise. It's Black Friday all weekend at Kirk Freeport. Visit kirkfreeport.com for details.
This holiday, Logic is helping you mix and match. So, whether it's reggae jingle bells or wearing plaid with Santa sweaters, anything goes. It's all about the freedom to choose, like mixing and matching your Logic services. The more you spend, the more you save. Plus, we're doubling our internet speeds, which means you're getting the island's fastest internet at up to 30% less than the competition. It's like Christmas all year round. Visit logic.ky to learn more. Terms and conditions apply.
Paramount Carpet pre-Christmas blowout sale is back for one whole week starting Monday, November 25th through Saturday, November 30th. Save big with assorted remnant tile, 200 square foot, $100 a pallet. Assorted remnant granite slabs, $300 each. Ceramic tiles as low as 75 cents per square foot. Porcelain tiles as low as 99 cents a square foot. Area rug, 35% off. Carpets, 25% off. And all other in-house tiles, 20% off. Cash and carry. It's the big blowout sale at Paramount Carpet, located 317 North Sound Road, Industrial Park. Open Monday to Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Saturday from 7:30 a.m. until 2 p.m. Call 949-5000.
We do a whole lot more than just cover your floor at Paramount Carpets.
ValueMed Pharmacy is your community care partner for health and wellness needs. We offer convenient prescription processing at the counter and online at value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com, with pickup available at the Walkers Road or Boddentown location. We also accept transfer prescriptions from other pharmacies. More than just a pharmacy, shop ValueMed for personal care and beauty products from trusted brands, perfume and gift sets, Hallmark and greeting cards, baby clothes, footwear, handbags, swimwear, home decor, toys, school supplies, and stationery. And home convalescence aids like wheelchairs, walkers, crutches, canes, and hospital beds. With 2 locations to serve you, Walkers Road in Georgetown and in Evron Plaza, Boddentown. Visit ValueMed, more than just a pharmacy.
Black Friday starts early in the Georgetown Shopping District this Thursday with the Island Plaza and Kirk Freeport. From 5 till 8 p.m. this Thursday, the 28th of November, the Island Plaza, Cardinal Avenue, and Bayshore Mall will all be open till 8 p.m. to give you the first chance to get huge discounts on jewelry, watches, fragrances, sunglasses, and accessories, and much more at the Black Friday sale. Start your Black Friday shopping early this Thursday, the 28th of November in Georgetown. Search the Georgetown Shopping District on Facebook for more information.
Imagine a Cayman where you can go out and enjoy an evening with your family and get home safe and sound because you decided to do exactly what you said you would.
Or a night out with your girlfriends to bring in the new year with plans to head to as many venues as you can.
What about a happy hour with your colleagues to celebrate without worrying about who was driving you home? Well, guess what? Your wish is my command. Take the pledge, designate a driver, or ride the Purple Ribbon bus on New Year's Eve. We want you to arrive alive, 345. This message was brought to you by Radio Cayman and the National Drug Council.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thank you for joining us, and I'm honored that our wonderful panelists, you hear them always on Money Sense. Emil Kalinowski, Simon Cordry, and Dr. Amy Hubble sits with us. And I say this, and I hopefully don't make you uncomfortable, but to be able to sit here and have panelists like you, for me, I get to learn. Hopefully we engage our listeners and get them start thinking and talking and questioning certain things, especially on a financial sort of platform where too often we dismiss the need to ask questions. We deny that we don't have sufficient knowledge, and we just hope and pray that by the end of the day when I retire or I work until I die and I have enough money to survive, without seeing that it's a challenge. As we sort of proceed into that discussion, maybe can I ask first the terminology that we use? We talk about the present value of money, we look at words like inflation, the future value of money, or we talk about cost-benefit analysis, we talk about all of these different things. And for some of us, they're easy sort of questions to ask and answer. Others, if you get into regression analysis, you look at what potential there could be, certain factors that come into play, and you start to hold certain variables, and one making certain assumptions, another. Then all of a sudden, the people who are potential investors say, oh, oops, that's just beyond my scope, outside of my wheelhouse, and they do nothing. Is that part of the challenge then, that the terminology that's used becomes so industry specific that the potential investor is already excluded?
Go on, Amy. This is your area.
Well, yeah, I do think in many ways using terminology like present value of cash flows can be very confusing versus using words like after inflation or something like that. But the whole idea there is just that money today, holding in your hand, if you're not going to be able to have it today, you're going to be getting it 1 year from now. That means that should be discounted. That money that you're going to get in the future is less discounted than money that you're going to be handed today, which I think most people kind of in their mind makes sense too. But yes, using terminology in a very technical way in some ways can make whoever's using those words sound more intelligent, and sometimes that's the purpose, that when you're speaking to somebody, you want the person that you are trying to sell the service that you're offering to believe that you are smarter than they are at whatever you're ultimately trying to to sell in service or a product. Or it just could be a situation of negligence or just overstudy of that it's words that we use every single day that we just don't think about. So it kind of goes both ways. I don't think it's necessarily being used in a nefarious way, if that's the suggestion.
No.
But yes, it very much lends itself to a separation of people that know and people that are afraid to ask, I guess.
And as I listened to you, I was thinking back again. This is just my personal ethos. I always like to learn. If anyone has an inkling about something, it could be a recipe, it could be that they visited somewhere and they thought it was nice and they want to share that experience. I get to either one, live vicariously through them, and two, learn something new. On Friday last, Dr. Kelly Dunning from Auburn University were one of our guests, and as a university professor, she was just talking, but using a language that even me, even a caveman, but even a West Bay could understand. It was natural. She had the science behind it, but she spoke, like Dr. Amy does, in a tone that, one, is endearing, but two, is informative and allows you to come on board with the conversation so that you don't feel that you have to be, some really, really intelligent person with a big vocabulary to follow along. So when we're looking at, for instance, a very topical issue today, the whole idea of the port, and the conversations, and we read some of the studies, and we try to understand some of the science. Obviously, some of it is for the professionals, but if me, the general public, not able to follow along with, well, what does this mean? Are we any better off?
I think there's a bigger picture here. There's a bigger issue here, and I think Emil and I have talked about this on our show probably about a month or so ago. And the issue there is that there are people who have knowledge about subjects, and we would be well inclined generally to listen to people who have knowledge about a subject and learn from people with that knowledge. The problem is that the polarization that we have, whereby people who want to listen to one perspective actually only listen to that perspective and don't listen to other perspectives, means that we are increasingly not hearing opinions that are different, or we are not hearing facts communicated by people with a different opinion. So somebody who disagrees with you may have facts which could persuade you to change your mind, but because we are not listening to those people, because typically the media often the media is only reporting one side of an argument and may not be doing it terribly well. We're actually not educating ourselves very well in a lot of subjects. And so the Brexit referendum in the UK was one example. One could argue the surge of Donald Trump in the US was another example. And one might argue the port conversation is akin to that, whereby there are very inflamed passions on each side. But it's not clear to me that there's actually been sufficient economic research, environmental research, cost benefit, to use your words earlier. It's not clear to me that there's been sufficient considered analysis done which takes all those different perspectives and puts them together and presents an argument for people. I think there are still pieces of that jigsaw puzzle that are missing, and therefore people are basing their viewpoint in this instance, and on, say, Brexit and on Trump, they're basing it on incomplete information, and therefore it's often whoever inflames them more, whoever stirs their passions more, will win the argument, as opposed to those who are giving the correct set of information based on the facts that exist.
I'd like to reframe Simon's very important point a little bit deeper. It's a little bit more pessimistic, actually. Simon said that it was polarization that was turning away the people from listening to experts, suggesting that it may be a left or right divide. So if a left expert says something, or a liberal one, or a conservative says something, then we hew to whoever we prefer politically. But I think it's deeper than that. I think it's all experts that have lost the faith of the public, whether or not they come from the left or the right. And I thought there was a wonderful example of that. And the reason they have is because they had been given the opportunity, in an economic sense, to turn the economy around after the great financial crisis. And it's not going as well as it could be. And I think that's where the distrust or discounting of expert opinion comes from. But I think there was a wonderful moment in the Brexit referendum when an expert was on talking about what would happen to the economy, and said all the experts agree that the economy would be hurt, and they mentioned a certain percentage. And the commentators said the people are sick of the experts.
Well, it wasn't the commentator, actually. It was the head of the Brexit negotiations for the government at the time, Michael Gove, who, if you meet him, walk away. He's an unpleasant person, and you shouldn't hang around with him. He's someone who, if you're going to make that sort of statement and you're a politician, you're a fool and an idiot and don't deserve of that position.
But I would say that may be true, but his point seemed to have been borne out.
Oh, absolutely.
In Britain, in the United States, and all throughout Europe.
One thing I'll challenge on that a little, Emil, is you say all experts, and I think probably I agree with you in the sense of economics. But I'm not, and even perhaps in the subject of climate change, that's become a little bit polarized as well. But there are signs that people are willing to listen to smart people, and they are in certain areas. So generally speaking, most people are listening to people who have knowledge in the subject, in the area of climate change. Some of the politicians aren't, because it's not in their interest. And in other science matters, there are real appreciation of the work done. I think it's perhaps a little bit more on the economic side, where people, where economists should be more honest, actually, and say, our subject is not a science in the true sense. There's no way of testing a hypothesis, because time evolves and things change, given there's no status that doesn't change that we can test against. So we need to be more honest about that, or more open about that, so that people accept that there will be errors associated with the communications that we give, and therefore more accepting of those errors, but nevertheless accepting that we're doing it in good faith and in all honesty, and therefore at least giving the benefit of the doubt to say, well, at least these guys are making a better effort than others when they make these assumptions. They will not be right, but they have a better chance of being less wrong.
I wish you had thrown something at me immediately after I had said the word all, because that's correct. That's not what I meant at all. I'll throw something again. Yes, it's a narrow field of experts that are being not listened to or questioned much more than before.
All right, so we'll come back. Experts/consultants, one and the same, and is the question in that he who pays the piper calls the tune. If we're willing to pay somebody, irrespective of who they are, enough money, they're willing to tell you what is it that they think you want to hear. Let's mull that over when we come back from the break. Could that be part of the challenge? As you all know, Miss Susan's in charge. She says break. Well, we break, right? Yeah. When we come back, please rejoin us. Stay tuned for Talk Today.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Radio Cayman 3 to 6 mix on the weekdays. Brought to you by
Cayman Insurance Center, serving the community for 45 years. Don't take chances with your family's future. Call Denise Brown at 814-7229 or Michael Webster at 925-5433.
Every day. Every day. All the time. All the time.
Also brought to you by Merengue Town.
It's time to feel the rhythm. Time to feel the vibes. It's time for Merengue Town.
Ocean Med is open for appointments at Bayshore Mall. The only healthcare facility on island designed exclusively for women, offers a wide range of radiology-based medical screening and diagnostic tests, such as mammograms and ultrasounds, with state-of-the-art technology, full OBGYN services, a complimentary healthcare coordinator, and a stunning facility equipped with calming, multi-sensory exam suites. Ocean Med is dedicated to providing competitively priced healthcare excellence to women in our community. Book your appointment today. Call 946-2326 or visit oceanmed.ky.
Kirk Freeport's Black Friday weekend sale is bigger than ever, with up to 50% off an incredible selection of watches, jewelry, and accessories. And Kirk Freeport is giving early access to the sale on Thursday night, starting at 5 p.m. Bayshore Mall and Cardinal Avenue will stay open until 8 p.m., and the Strand will remain open until 9 p.m. Get unbeatable discounts from brands including John Hardy, Roberto Coin, Swarovski, Bulgari, Chopard, Marco Bisigo, Brogian, Masica, Doves, Ippolita, Lagos, Kipling, and many more. Plus, take an additional 10% off all non-branded merchandise. It's Black Friday all weekend at Kirk Freeport. Visit kirkfreeport.com for details.
Think about something that makes you happy. Did it make you smile? We know it did, because that's what we do at Sagicor. Put smiles on our clients' faces every day. With a large range of products to cover your family, it's no wonder most locals choose Sagicor for their life insurance needs. Serving the community for over 25 years. Let us put a smile on your face. Call your Sagicor advisor today.
Preventing dengue is as simple as preventing mosquito bites. Use a mosquito repellent, wear protective clothing, and stay indoors during early dawn and dusk when mosquitoes are most active. Control the places around you where mosquitoes breed. Remove stagnant water in outdoor and household settings. As a weekly habit, persons should change the water in vases. Clear the water in saucers under potted plants and ensure air conditioner drip trays are free of stagnant water. Outdoor objects capable of holding water should be kept empty and preferably disposed of or put into dry storage if not used. These include open bottles and tins, watering cans, buckets, empty paint tins, and old vehicle tires. Do your part to control the spread of dengue. The dengue virus is an infectious disease transmitted through mosquito bites. Symptoms may come on as early as 4 days or as late as 3 weeks following an infection. There is no vaccine or specific medication to treat dengue. Symptoms of dengue include high fever, headache, pain behind the eyes, joint and muscle pain, and rash. If persons have any of these symptoms, they should go to the nearest health center or hospital. It is advised to drink lots of liquids and avoid medication that contains aspirin.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thanks for joining us, and truly, it's a pleasure for our Money Sense team to impart their knowledge to us. Emil Kalinowski, Simon Cordry, and Amy Hubble sits with us. As we look at the global picture, and not just the things that may be happening in the US and the UK, the wider Europe, the region even, but we look at some of the macro consequences within the Cayman context, but even some of the smaller, more individualized behaviors and decisions and inactions and the like. I was asking prior to the break, as we look at that, if we don't try to run afoul of any sort of sensibilities, but when it comes to major capital projects, whether it's the airport and its redevelopment expansion, whether it's infrastructure for roads and the like, or it's the very topical issue of the port, is it that when we're looking at the environmental impact of doing and not doing, the potential social cost and consequence of more people in a smaller space, and the supporting services from restrooms to sidewalks to shade shelter to, maybe providing for water and rest spots and the like, are we failing to better quantify the actual financial cost? How much is this thing going to cost to do, to maintain, and the like? Because to me, that's the easier part. $2 is $2, or maybe not.
It's very easy for people to give an estimate as to what something's going to cost. But I think, Emil, you said, didn't you, it's always going to cost X times more than that. That's just the nature of public projects and expenditures. And I don't personally know why that is, but it always seems to be a good 100% or 200% more. So any airport, any railway line, any motorway system that's built always ends up costing more, whether that's because of corruption, whether that's because of incompetence, whether that's because of bad planning, bad budgeting. It always does. Nevertheless, it's not untrue to say that most capital projects are, generally speaking, positive over the long run for economies, because capital infrastructure is important. If you don't do it and others do, you will be left behind. And we are not in a marketplace here in Cayman where people need to come to Cayman. There's no need or reason that people have to come here. We have a nice beach, so do lots of other places. We have nice water, so do lots of other places. So no one needs to come to Cayman. People come to Cayman because they like to. And if the experience becomes bad, they won't. Just like business. People come to Cayman because the business environment makes it conducive. If we make it non-conducive, what's the opposite of conducive? If we make it non-conducive, then people won't. And we always need to be mindful of that. We need to be careful against building in a sense of complacency that people will always visit Cayman for business or pleasure. I think that's wrong. And I don't think there's any evidence to support that. You see places being competed away. People in Hong Kong, for instance, right now are anxious about circumstances because businesses are relocating to Singapore because of the political situation, because of people on the streets throwing petrol bombs. So we need to be mindful wherever you are in the world that nothing needs to happen, just like in London. Business doesn't need to stay in London after Brexit, and it's already started moving some things.
But with that then, if I may then pick up a need and want, but specifically in this case, you said need to come to Cayman. Not speaking to comparative advantage necessarily, but the notion that from the Cayman context, that person who's going to take a vacation, the individual, the family, the corporate retreat, is looking at competing options in their own home jurisdiction as opposed to maybe a foreign jurisdiction, and they opt for Cayman. It isn't that our beaches are necessarily better, but that thing that is attractive, the perception of value, the perception of safety and security, the idea that there's a genuine, welcoming, hospitable, friendly thing that is not as easy to quantify financially. If, as some have argued, and they throw out the term carrying capacity for argument's sake, too many people in this space makes it untenable. It's not as comfortable as nice. If we have that and we somehow ignore the ability that's been monetized, and we grow and we make it bigger and more is better, and it turns out to be counterproductive, then are we not, what's the political term there's always banter about, killing the goose that laid the golden egg? Are we ignoring that aspect of anything in the discussion to grow an economy?
Well, I think back to what Simon was saying earlier on some of these studies, at the end of the day, we're not sure what the overall either environmental impact will be, or for sure what the economic impact will be. When you start to think about what the economic, okay, that means more ships can come, which means more people can come, which means more jobs building the port, more shops on the waterfront, more tour operations. That's ultimately where the revenue that we would be seeing would coming from. So ultimately, the pier itself would be paid by the fees by the customers that come through it. Cayman Islands would not specifically get those fees because those fees would then go to pay off the port for years and years and years. And it's one of those things that it's very difficult to quantify because, yes, great, but then you look at the environmental side and say, well, what are the people actually coming to Cayman to see? Now, I will 100% agree that it is annoying to get on those little shuttle boats. And as Simon loves that duck boat that drives around, gets off their boat, takes a tender to the boat, then gets on another boat that then takes a circle around their boat to then get back on a boat, back to their boat. It's my favorite argument with Simon, but we need to be asking the cruise shippers what they are coming to Cayman for too. Mm-hmm. Is it the snorkeling? Is it the beach? I would think that if you're coming to the Caribbean, you want to look at the beach. You want to sit on the beach. You want to drink a Cayman rum punch, and you want to stare at beautiful water. It's not necessarily the jewelry stores or the T-shirt shops that people say, yes, I want to go to Cayman for. And so I think that's one argument for making sure that we do not disrupt our environmental standpoint, because that's one of those things you can't fix. You can a little bit more nimbly adjust the economic picture, can adjust where kind of the commerce comes from, but I would agree that we need to know for sure what the impact would be.
Okay, with that, Emil, certainly I always appreciate your unassuming demeanor, but jump right in.
Well, I'm thinking of, it's unquantifiable, most likely, all the externalities. Too many people, our environmental damage offset by more jobs and more revenue, and good thing it's going to go to a vote, because how does one possibly make this decision?
Votes are always referendum are always a great way of solving big problems, but I take your
point.
Sounds like sarcasm.
I thought so.
Well, your Prime Minister Churchill had a great quote on democracy, so of course it's the worst system except for all the others. And, we're humans here on Earth, and that seems to be the best way to make it work. This discussion makes me think of the recent decision of the Aborigines in Australia in cutting off their amazing gem in the middle of the country, the beautiful red rock. Mm-hmm. We've all seen pictures of it. I won't try to pronounce it here on air. But it was too much.
It begins with you, doesn't it?
I'll let you do it as soon as I'm done. But it was too much. They were having a lot of money come in, and everyone was visiting, and it was wonderful, but it was just too much of a good thing, quantity over quality, and they decided they needed to pull back. And I'm reminded of the same thing happened to Machu Picchu. They had to cut back on the number of visitors. So we have a beautiful island, and we're just going to have to try to do our best to not...
Go on.
No, go ahead.
Well, who was it? Was it Piketty? There's a famous French economist who's talked about the illusion of economic growth. Was it him who wrote about that, or was he to talk just about disparity of incomes?
I'm only familiar with his disparity of incomes worker.
No, because there has been some increase. Well, you see it actually a little bit in the UK when you have the current Labour Party. You have Bernie Sanders in the US talking about this illusion of the benefits of economic growth as if to argue. The argument sort of goes along the lines of economic growth is not a valuable thing in and of itself. It's about standards of living of people, and that's the crux of the argument. And one of my good friends in the UK uses this argument a lot. He says, "Why do we keep chasing economic growth?" The difficulty with that argument is that, and this sort of alludes to why people get anxious about new infrastructure. But the reason you do it is because without economic growth, there's only a few things that can contribute to improving standards of living, and economic growth is one of the key elements of that. And so we need to be mindful of that, because if we don't do these sorts of things, then people will do things elsewhere, will go and operate elsewhere, and go on vacation elsewhere, and go doing business elsewhere. Cayman's under take business. Cayman at the moment is under an awful lot of pressure regulatory-wise, and we're told that if we don't change our regulatory regime to fit in with what the EU is telling us we should do, then the EU will say, well, you're going to be blacklisted against from their perspective. And what we do is we then go and accept those changes. It's the same sort of argument. We are quite a reactive community here in Cayman by nature, because we're not able to throw our weight around. We have no weight. We operate as a population of 70,000 against populations of 350 million with armies. It's going to be difficult. Even Cayman's much vaunted new regiment is going to struggle to withstand the invasion of the British Army. It's as depleted as it might be one day. So we're always going to be facing those sorts of challenges, and we just need to be
invaded?
Well,
you heard it here first.
Well, they practice every year, so they know how to do it. Although,
yeah, very practiced.
All right. Well, when we come back from the break, let me ask of us then. Can you talk about throw into that then the idea that there are possible constitutional reforms coming down the pipeline. Let's look at the impact, if any, if we were to have currency devaluation. Let's just see, because to me, what is it that we ascribe to, he who controls the money calls the shots, Rothschild? Is that one of the challenges? But let's look at those two things, and let's look at the allocation of our resources. Fair enough?
Fair enough.
Nothing major. When we come back, more talk today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman.
It's only two species that we have, on an island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice. For today's biggest news.
Access to information.
Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom team.
Today's biggest news.
The Ministry of Youth has extended the deadline of submission of nominations for Proud of Them Round 11 until this Friday, November 29th. The annual Proud of Them award scheme recognizes excellence amongst young people in the Cayman Islands, all young persons between the ages of 10 and 25 years, and who have demonstrated excellence and proven success in the categories of academics, careers, business, sports, culture, or community service, are eligible for nomination. Check out www.proudofthem.com or education.gov.ky for nomination forms and more information. In news elsewhere, 13 French soldiers have been killed in a helicopter collision during an operation against jihadists in Mali, the French president's office says. President Emmanuel Macron expressed deep sadness over the biggest single loss of life for the French military since the 1980s. An investigation has begun into how the two helicopters hit each other. Thousands of French troops have been deployed in Mali since 2013 after militants overran parts of the north. A 6.4 magnitude earthquake has struck Albania, bringing down buildings and leaving people trapped under rubble. At least 13 people have died. One man was killed after jumping from a window in panic, a defense ministry spokeswoman said. The quake hit 21 miles northwest of the capital in the early hours of Tuesday. Hours later, a separate earthquake struck the city of Mostar in Bosnia. There were no reports of casualties. Those are your latest updates here on Radio Cayman. I'm Shanda Gallego.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
I've got some beautiful clothes. I know just where they go. Good and cleaner
It's party time and Christmas time, so let Puritan Cleaners help you to be ready with 10% off prepay on all ladies and gents wearing apparel and household items. Same day and following day service. Regular price. Offer good until December 10th at all stores. Savannah, Countryside, 946-1884. Elgin Avenue by Off the Peg, 949-2452. Eastern Avenue, rain or shine, 949-7104. Puritan Cleaners, you feel good when you look good.
ValueMed Pharmacy is your community care partner for health and wellness needs. We offer convenient prescription processing at the counter and online at value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com, with pickup available at the Walkers Road or Boddentown location. We also accept transfer prescriptions from other pharmacies. More than just a pharmacy, shop ValueMed for personal care and beauty products from trusted brands, perfume and gift sets, Hallmark and greeting cards, baby clothes, footwear, handbags, swimwear, home decor, toys, school supplies, and stationery. And home convalescence aids like wheelchairs, walkers, crutches, canes, and hospital beds. With 2 locations to serve you, Walkers Road in Georgetown and in Evron Plaza, Boddentown. Visit ValueMed, more than just a pharmacy.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today. Thank you for joining us, and thanks to Emil Kalinowski, Simon Cordry, and Dr. Eva Hubble for joining us. And I appreciate this chance, because sometimes we don't get a chance to publicly have this sort of not just discourse and dissemination of information, but maybe engage people so that as they have their lunch, maybe this evening, they may have a sixth form student in their household who's studying economics, who has a love for finance, that this could direct them on that path of success beyond the classroom.
Yeah, the path of misery and depression.
It's a dismal science.
Their success starts today with this show.
There you go. But this idea, I asked prior to the break, the idea of looking at Cayman's currency relative to others and the purchasing power and the like.
You brought up the devaluation word.
Yeah.
Emil's on full-on meltdown mode now. He's going to terrify our listeners here.
All right. And, well, Simon, you lead us off. I mean, the idea. But let me go back to it this way. As we look at the potential of if, and not saying that if, but just if, and we know some must play the markets. We specifically look at currency trades, and in architecture, they talk about less is more. In economics, we talk about carrying capacity. It's one and the same to an extent. In the Pareto effect, we take our financial economy and we say 80%. Of everything comes from state over versus 20%. We look at the contributions. So if we go forward with any capital project, if we're looking at stuff, and down the road, what if, right? If our currency happens to have this, if our trade and value, if the perceptions of stability, what if? Just the uncertainty of Brexit, what if? So Simon, as the lead take?
Yes. Well, I think I'm going to defer to Emil on the implications of something like that. But I think the first thing that's worth saying is that it's worth avoiding at all costs.
Mm-hmm.
There's a devaluation of a currency is something that is a tool that can be used and has been used historically to help an economy which is suffering from what's called a balance of payments crisis, which means that it's importing a lot of stuff and not exporting a lot of stuff. And the reason it helps it is because it makes exports more competitive and it makes imports less competitive. Curiously, though, Cayman doesn't really export anything from a manufacturing type of perspective. So the question that therefore leads to asking, if you went down that path, how would it help the economy? And the answer to me isn't. The answer to me is fairly clear. It wouldn't.
Right.
What it would do is it would create inflationary pressures. Perhaps the more interesting angle would be, should Cayman think about doing a currency appreciation? That would be an interesting perspective, but there's no need. Cayman has absolutely no need to go down this path, and I would encourage anyone who's listening to reassure their their elected members that they should not be thinking about going and spending money in a profligate manner. I know Cayman can't at the moment, under the regime it operates in for the British Overseas Territories, prevent those sorts of things happening. But in a scenario one could foresee where Cayman went independent, like others have done, Barbados, Jamaica have got themselves into a whole host of real problems because they've gone and borrowed a lot of money, spent unwisely, and not being careful. And it may look very good on a short-term basis, spending wildly. A party is always a great thing, right? You have a lot of fun. The wilder the party, the more fun conceptually you have. There's probably an optimal level of fun, and you go a bit beyond that, and it's, when the police are called, you've got into a little bit too much trouble. But it's what happens afterwards that the real problems start. If you've had a party and you've burnt down your house, that's a little bit of a problem. It was a great bonfire at the time, but not great afterwards. You've got nowhere to live. So you've got to be careful about that. But Emil can wax lyrical, I'm sure, about the implications of currency devaluations and where the risks really are. I mean, you'll probably say Argentina is a classic, or Venezuela, I'm sure. So give us something on that.
Well, I would also add that there's another reason to devalue your currency, and that is to pay off your debts. If you owe $1 million and then your currency is halved, it's very easy to find that $1 million because it's lying around on the ground. Nobody wants it. So if you keep devaluing your currency, you repay in nominal terms. You'll find that $1 million, and it's very easy to repay. Of course, that seems to be a one-time get-out-of-jail-free card, because then in all the countries that we see, what happens afterwards is that nobody wants to lend you any money denominated in your currency again.
And Cayman doesn't borrow any money in its own currency. It borrows it in US dollars. So even if Cayman were to think about doing that, it would actually harm itself, because it would have to pay back 200 million, whatever the number is, 200 million in US dollars. And if its currency were weaker, it would get in less money and therefore have a bigger sum of money to pay, well, bigger in CI dollars terms to pay back. So to your point, it's just a bad idea.
But that's the country on the macro level. But that individual who has a mortgage, well, some would say demand loan, and
it still doesn't help that person.
Yeah, it's denominated in US dollars, being paid in CI. All of a sudden, your $200,000 loan, if it's half, now becomes $400,000 US CI dollar if it's devalued, right?
Yeah.
But
currency devaluations help a certain set of individuals and harm another set. And the set that it harms are savers, people that have worked, everything that we suggest and ascribe to, and everything that we believe is morally upstanding, and that's saving, working hard, squirreling away. Those people would be harmed, while the people that live profitably and spend and are in debts, they would have their debts wiped away, and they wouldn't have to experience the harm immediately, but the entire economy would be suffering quickly thereafter, as we see all around the world, in Argentina, Venezuela, Turkey, Beirut, Iran, right now as we speak.
Emil's list of countries there is not a list of countries you want to join. Just think of some of the names he said, Iran, Beirut, Turkey. These are not countries that you really want to be best pals with and say, well, let's all go out for dinner and discuss how great our economy is doing. That's not the situation you want to be in, and it would be preposterous to think that would any politician who suggested that Cayman can, or any country, but can borrow its way out of problems is naive, and that's to be mild and polite about it.
But let's go back then to the historical record, look at the workings of the IMF, not just in the 70s, but even more recently, and consider that for many, as they took on debt and the currency devaluations that came, you talk about if Cayman became independent, we now have a proposed budget of approaching $2 billion. We have significant capital projects, just the economics alone. We're not the contingent liabilities and like. If we were at that stage where we're significant debt, we're independent, we now have this option. The prosperity, the future stability, politically, economically, socially.
Well, what do you mean by independent? Do you mean independent from
political
the
independent,
UK or
independent from the UK, political
or the
independence?
US? Because we kind of have two masters in the monetary world, right? I mean,
touché. Okay, there you go.
Because
see how economics affects everything.
Well, that's the situation. Is even if we were quote unquote independent, we still could continue to peg our own currency against the U.S. dollar, which in this day and age is a very stable currency, as we all know, and it works very well. We could also, devil's advocate, I'm certainly not saying we should or should not do this.
Okay.
But we could be a little bit more nimble with the conversion rate, and we could, oscillate a little bit more between higher and lower. I mean, in certain situations, you could benefit from a situation where people coming to your island as tourists would rather have a cheaper currency. I mean, you think about Canada, Australia, it's much cheaper for them to travel there. They're able to do it more easy. Again, we're not in a situation where we would need to do that to spur that. But there is different options before we get to the point where we're completely independent. We mint our own currency and we take on debt and then we print it to pay it.
The Federal Reserve. Yeah.
Well, I was going to say that unfortunately, it wouldn't really be up to us. And that's really hard to accept psychologically. Even if we did everything correctly and if we ran the economy perfectly, we are simply too small to withstand the global macro picture. And it's not even an issue about the size of our island. Countries as large as Brazil, Argentina, Turkey, South Africa, they are corks bobbing on capital flows throughout the world. And if we happen to be living in an era where capital is being multiplied, then we could have bad economic policies and this island would be making money and the economy would be growing because money would be coming out of those global money centers, entering our island. And the converse is also true. We could be implementing wonderful policies, make macro-prudential sense, but if the economy is in retreat, global economy, globalization is in retreat, money is being pulled out from everywhere because capital is a coward. They're not going to wait to see if you're going to get your house in order. So it just depends on the era that we live in.
So let's flip the coin in. Instead of even considering currency devaluations, what if we, as someone suggested, well, why do you even have the CI dollar? Just get rid of it altogether.
Fabulous question.
All right. So no more CI dollar.
I challenge anyone to phone in and answer that question.
1-800, we give them a prize?
Well, they can get a prize of having an answer to an impossible question.
Well, national pride, it's beautiful.
It gives you the option to not manipulate, but
optionality.
If ever you did want to.
It costs money to print.
Okay. and even to transport, just to bring currency into the country, right? That'll
sure, that as well.
Cost.
Yes, it actually costs. So most countries that have their own currency have something called seigniorage, and that's a Latin word which Emil will define for us in due course, obviously.
You see it? This is your friend?
I lived in Arizona, which is right across the street
yes,
from Mexico.
That's true. I forget. I forget you're American, so you wouldn't understand.
Oh my God!
Classic Latin. I see.
No.
So
the point about it though is if you have your own currency, you can print the money, and some of it you can actually spend yourself. Mm-hmm. So there is an economic benefit to having your own currency, generally speaking, because you can print some and spend it on things that you want to spend it on. That's what is called seigniorage. But there's no economic benefit in that sense. That economic benefit does not exist if you peg your currency, because you can't actually spend it. The records that SEMA produce say that for every CI dollar they produce, they back it up with $1 US in a bank account. So there's nothing that they can do in order to create money to spend it. Now, if they were to ever change that policy, then you'd have inflation in Cayman and it would be a bit of a shambles. And then you'd have these issues of devaluation and all such things. So that would be an absolutely terrible idea. But as to why we have our own currency, I can't give you one sensible reason for that.
Well, Amy's point, as usual, was the best, which was optionality.
Everybody hear that?
No, but the thing is and these are discussions for some that would seem esoteric, for others, it's giving them food for thought. But if you look at the economy and the physical size of our economy, the role that we probably played globally and the role that we're playing now, for those who are saying there's absence of monetary and fiscal policy, in order for us to move forward, we need to create a central bank. Are these things that, whether we're independent or not, that we need to be considering for the next political regime, for the next generation?
Not if we keep the US dollar.
Okay. Should we keep the US dollar?
Why not?
Why not Swiss franc?
Well, that's the question. What would be the alternative? So it's an interesting point. What would be the implications if we didn't? It would mean we couldn't run our own currency, practically speaking.
It's not convertible to.
if
it
we
could
run
circulate.
It could circulate, yeah.
Who would want to buy our own currency? Who would want to trade with us on our own currency? Nobody would. So you'd have to trade in someone else's currency, and it would either be the US dollar, the euro, or the Chinese renminbi. So we wouldn't be able to have our own currency in that traditional sense anyway. Therefore, I just don't see what the point is. This whole debate happened when Brexit and all that sort of nonsense about taking back control of your currency. Emil's point is that you don't have control of your own currency. Mm-hmm. You only have control over it to the extent the market lets you have control of it if you're running decent policies. And that's the fundamental thing. If Cayman ever wanted to run silly policies, then sure, it might as well take its own currency and go the whole head and be damn stupid totally. Mm-hmm. But if you're going to... it only comes with... in that sort of scenario, I would argue.
Okay, with that, then, there are those who have said, oh, well, the US is the world's police, the US is the world's currency. But I think, Emil, you had an article sometime back in the last presentation as well that it isn't, really. And for many of us, it was, wow, is that really true? I mean, for some of us, it's finally someone who gets it. So, what are your thoughts?
Well, thank you very much. That's a very kind compliment. I thought just my mom had read that article, but I'm happy that someone else did as well.
She sent it to me.
Thank you. Believe it or not, this is hard to believe, but the United States also doesn't control its own currency. Mm-hmm. And this is not a recent development. Mm-hmm. It all began after the Second World War, when banks in Europe and Japan began to accumulate US dollars outside of the national boundaries. And over time, this developed into an international, offshore, off-balance sheet, off the regulatory radar system of dollars that monetary authorities all throughout the 60s, 70s, and 80s were worried about. And then they used terms such as that it was beyond the control of any single nation, any single monetary authority. Alan Greenspan said in 2000, he said that the proliferation of products has been so extraordinary, and he was talking about that the proliferation of dollars beyond their control has been so extraordinary that they could no longer measure and map U.S. dollars themselves. Mm-hmm. The Federal Reserve could not define a U.S. dollar. So when I say that the U.S. dollar is not controlled by the United States, I'm saying it's not controlled by anybody. It's controlled by this offshore interbank global network of banks trading amongst themselves, ledger balances, and I think I'm going in too deep, but it's this conversation that we were just having about our national currency and whether or not we should hold on to the dollar and whether the dollar is good is also being had at the highest levels at central banks around the world as to what to do with this currency, the US dollar, which is a problem for many countries around the world because it's so strong. And it's one of the most complicated topics.
But bear in mind, we import, I'm going to throw a random guess out there, but it must be 90% of our product through the US. I don't know if it's 80%, 70%, but it's clearly a large number. We can find that data. It's on the Economic and Statistics Office website. But we almost certainly import a vast majority of our product from the US. And if you are going to import a vast majority of your stuff from somewhere and you have a different currency to them, it's going to be a mess.
Mm-hmm. And it creates risk.
Yeah,
right?
If Florida went and had a different currency, Florida would be Brexit. It takes me back to the same sort of thing. It's going to create problems. And Britain's a big country, 50-odd or 60-odd million people. We're 60,000 people. There's no way we could have any influence. One might think sitting in Cayman, yes, we live a nice lifestyle, but we live that lifestyle at the luxury because of others. We don't exist in a vacuum as a country. We exist because people are willing to do business here, and no one's willing to do. I don't think people would be willing to do business here if we were run like a Venezuelan. Just run like Venezuela. I'll leave the last word there. Yeah.
It's too big a problem for us to chew on as an island, as a society. It's so big that even the largest countries are having difficulty with it.
But I tell you what we can do. I just got a message from somebody. I sent them a message before the show. They said, "What should I bring up to bring into this conversation?" And it relates to this, which is things that we can do to help ourselves as a community, and that's. In my personal opinion here, but the ridiculousness of not changing our clocks to match the US.
So you don't agree with that either?
Well, it either shows a distinct lack of laziness, a distinct lack of carelessness, or an inability and incompetence to know how to change a clock. Because our business, who do we do most financial business with? We do it with the East Coast of the US, and we do it with Europe. Being an hour different from them, you might think an hour, that doesn't matter. But if you're dealing with someone in continental Europe, that's 7 hours. Sometimes you could be different from them. 7 hours is a long time to actually do business, and Cayman would be far better off aligning itself with those people it does business with. The idea that I'm going to go off for 10 minutes now. What time does your show finish?
Tomorrow. You got time.
But the idea that there's any validity in this statement that used to be made in, I think, the 1950s, that children needed to have daylight saving in order to be able to get to school safely. I don't see many children walking to school with their lunchbox in their arm and holding their younger sister's hand as they walk down the road. People are now driven to school, so there's no safety issue in terms of getting to school. And there's no real difference from an hour light at 5:30 versus 6:30. School doesn't start until after that. But from an economic perspective, this economy would be better, I would argue, if we were able to more closely align ourselves to those countries that we do business with. Now, hopefully the US will give up daylight saving, and then it won't be a problem. But if they don't, then we should at least align ourselves with what New York does, because it's a fundamental part of the economic infrastructure here.
So when they change, we change. Is what you're saying?
Yeah, absolutely.
Some of us do business with Oklahoma in the Central.
Yeah, but not many people, Amy. I'm looking at one of them, as one of them.
You know what? Emil?
I'm not going to
He's
take
from Arizona, and they don't do it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm thinking of with you, man.
Time.
Yeah, so let's align ourselves with the great and the good of the world, Arizona.
Oh,
I think I'm not going to take the bait.
No, I'm with you. But this is where I like the idea. Sorry, Miss Susan. I'll contain my thoughts.
What's your view, Sterling?
Oh no, I this idea of daylight savings, leave it alone. I understand the financial markets. I also disagree with what I thought was foolish in terms of the reasons to change it, right? But for me, the market change, you get up earlier and you just work. It doesn't matter. Turning the clock back. Some places that have 2.5 hour difference or 45 minutes difference, that's an arbitrary man-made imposition. It doesn't change it.
Oh, for sure.
45 minutes difference.
Yeah, there are some quirky places in Australia and I think Russia has some strange time zones.
What
as
is
well.
in some parts of
Canada? And why the UK changes on a different date than the US changes is also madness.
Well, it's not just the UK. I think it's Europe as well.
Yeah.
The question is, why does the former, British colony of the US not adhere to British standards? Is the better question, Amy.
But see, with age, they mature and become intelligent.
Well, so they're still adolescents, aren't they? In that strict sense.
So you're lobbying for us to change, not the US not to change.
No, I think that daylight saving and I think changing clocks is in today's world is bonkers. Yeah. Full stop.
I'm with you.
But if people do change, and they do, and that's factually the case that people do change their clocks, as stupid as it is, then we should also do what our biggest trading partners do, because otherwise it screws up business in this economy. And I don't for one moment suggest that it makes sense for the US, the UK, Europe, wherever it is in the world to change their clocks, but many a stupid thing is done. What I'm suggesting is we don't compound stupidity by not actually matching them.
Let Cayman lead the world out of the darkness of daylight savings time. Let's stay where we are and they will follow us.
See the wisdom.
Glory, hallelujah. There you go.
Sing it, brother, let's live. But this is where I think that, and I like when Amy was sharing earlier, I joke and jest all the time, but economics drives everything. It's not the politics. Everything, and in everything, there's economics.
But we can't let that be true. We have to draw a line.
Never.
Economics can't drive everything.
What's wrong with you, man?
No, man, no. Because think of it, right?
Philosophy,
when
religion,
did you get a soul?
Morality.
What's wrong with you?
It's economics.
The ultimate issue. Well, we shouldn't let it.
It is not economics from the financial sense. I mean, what we say economics is a social science. In itself, that may sound like a misnomer. But it's the opportunity cost. It's not measured in dollars and cents. It's measured in time, in relationships. If I invite you for coffee and you accept, we pay for the coffee, right?
Social capital.
There you go.
Generated.
Yeah. And it's economics. It's that wonderful thing.
Fair enough.
The behavior of people, how we interact. We say psychology.
But people are the most frustrating of creatures.
No, just
they don't behave how economists think they should.
That's the truth.
I
We
like-
do not.
All right. Miss Susan. Miss Susan says we have one call. Let's take it. I know I'm
Oh,
very
good.
grateful to you for your time. Let's take this call, though. Hey, good afternoon and welcome. Thanks for sharing.
Sorry, I just kind of flipped onto the channel like 20 minutes ago, so I don't know what the original topic of this discussion was, but from what I caught, it was kind of generalized economics. And I had a bit of a fun question, one that crosses my mind from time to time. In Cayman, we're constantly stating that we have the two major pillars for our economy in Cayman being tourism and financial services. So in this scenario, in my mind, you win one of those massive Powerball lotteries from the United States that after taxes you're left with $1 billion US. So if you got $1 billion US and personal enrichment is not your goal, how do you build one or two more pillars into Cayman for the future so we're not left on such shaky ground? I just think it's an interesting thought experiment, so I'm curious to see what you guys would do if you had $1 billion to spend in the Cayman economy.
Is that... no. Okay, thanks very much. Who wants to...
I lack the wisdom to know where to invest best, so I would put it into education, and hopefully some of the kids would grow up and
But into
do
buildings
something.
or actual program? I'm sorry. Oh.
Throughout, just broad educational investment into the adults and the youth, and we would see where it would go from there.
Simon?
It's an interesting one because I'm always very nervous about making the presumption that one person, and particularly government persons, are capable of making good decisions in these areas. And so were Cayman to come into a position of enrichment, then what I would think would be desirous would be to open to competition, free up people to take risks and give people incentives to take risks to find the next new area that Cayman can compete in. Because you often see governments saying, well, we're going to... Look, I grew up in England. So governments in England are notoriously anxious about protecting steel workers, for instance. Now, why, I don't know. I mean, I'm sure they do. They make lovely steel, and it's wonderful. You know, it does lovely things. But there are many people who don't work in steel. Most people don't. And yet politicians think that certain industries should be favoured over others. Farming is also something that's favoured elsewhere. And yet, if you give up those sorts of things, you can find that people in and of their own volition will make much better decisions than governments will as to how resources should be allocated. And so in the scenario this caller put out, I think what you should be doing is saying to people, hey, we're going to create an environment where we're going to incentivize people to do weird and wonderful things, and we'll see which of those weird and wonderful things gains sufficient traction and then gains momentum and then gains... starts itself growing. That would be, to my mind, the optimal way of operating an economy. But to Emil's point, he's absolutely right, and I say that with all due care. But he's absolutely right, because the only way you get people to do these sorts of things is by providing a sufficient level of good quality base education, so people can actually take those sorts of risks. And most education systems around the world don't do a very good job of doing that. They teach people to a curricula and then send them off to university, often without skills that are useful in the real world, and that's a real problem.
Dr. Amy, only if you wish to weigh in.
Yeah, both were excellent answers. I will condone both of them. I think the education pipeline is exactly what Simon's saying, that feeds into allowing people the freedom to create. That's what capitalism is about, and allowing people and giving people the resources to be able to do that. People being able to continue to stay here, to raise their families here. Their children can go to school. Their children can even go to university here, and then would want to stay here. That would be the dream. I think the other thing that could be that Cayman could lead the way in is in healthcare. And I don't want to be political, but I do think that we are small enough that we could experiment with some different. I won't say public health care, but health care options within the Cayman Islands, as well as kind of capitalizing on Health City and some of the other really, really innovative things that are happening over there. I think that would be a great investment, and it would add that additional third leg to the stool that would complement financial services and tourism.
Thank you all very much. And if you wouldn't mind a public invitation as your schedules align, come back home and let's have this discussion. It's really been enjoyable, very informative. I'm very grateful.
When are you coming on our show?
Okay, once I get my PhD. But thank you very, very much. Emil, always a pleasure.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.
Likewise, Simon, Dr. Amy. And to those of us, join us. Make sure we get a chance to always listen to our One Sense program. We learn a lot. We appreciate the contributions.
It's on this Thursday, isn't it?
We're supposed to say tomorrow. Huh? Is it tomorrow, Susan?
What day is today?
Today's Tuesday.
Next week.
What?
Oh, wait, hold on. Today's Tuesday. Oops.
What's going on in the world?
We're already at Christmas.
Yeah. Thank you I'm thinking today's Wednesday. Okay. So it's coming out on Thursday. I apologize.
Thanksgiving.
I'm actually thinking that today is Wednesday.
Daylight savings time, if you accumulate it long enough, you're off by a day or two.
Oh my gosh. Okay. To that person, my apologies. Today is not Wednesday. Okay. Well, that makes life easy.
Well, we've actually so everyone has learned something at least today, that today is not Wednesday.
Yeah.
Unless you're in Australia, which presumably by now it is Wednesday.
Oh, yeah. Huh. Interesting. Okay. You know what? Slow down. Take some days off. Oh, but no, seriously. Thank you all very much. And to our listeners, Thursday, Money Sense, 7:30, right, sir? All right. And when we come back, our friends from the HSA join us. We have a couple of discussions, including at 2 o'clock, Dr. Pecco, as we talk about orthopedic surgery. But before that, you want to know what's going to happen? Join us after the break. Stay tuned for Dr. D.
Paramount Carpet pre-Christmas blowout sale is back for one whole week starting Monday, November 25th through Saturday, November 30th. Save big with assorted remnant tile, 200 square foot, $100 a pallet. Assorted remnant granite slabs, $300 each. Ceramic tiles as low as 75 cents per square foot. Porcelain tiles as low as 99 cents a square foot. Area rug, 35% off. Carpets, 25% off. And all other in-house tiles, 20% off. Cash and carry. It's the big blowout sale at Paramount Carpet, located 317 North Sound Road, Industrial Park. Open Monday to Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Saturday from 7:30 a.m. until 2 p.m. Call 949-5000.
We do a whole lot more than just cover your floor at Paramount Carpets.
After a hurricane, be sure to immediately report any broken or damaged water mains to the Water Authority. Our emergency helpline is 946-HELP. That's 946-4357. The Water Authority will use all available communication channels, including local media and social media, to inform its customers when the water supply is available. For more useful hurricane preparedness tips, visit the Water Authority's website at www.waterauthority.ky or follow us on social media.
Don't miss the early Black Friday savings at BrandSource Home Gallery in Industrial Park. Beat the crowds and save now on Samsung TVs. Get a 65-inch Samsung 4K TV for only $599, or a 55-inch 4K for only $449, and 45-inch 4Ks are just $299. But hurry to BrandSource now because supplies are limited. BrandSource Home Gallery in Industrial Park on Dorsey Drive. Beat the crowds and save now. Call 623-5000 for more information.
Run off the extra helping of turkey dinner and give back in a big way this Thanksgiving. Register now for the Meals on Wheels Turkey Trot 5K and 10K Fun Walk Run on Saturday, November 30th at the Holiday Inn Resort in Safe Haven. Registration is only $25 and there are lots of spot prizes to be won and complimentary omelet station. Help Meals on Wheels fight senior hunger in the Cayman Islands. Visit mealsonwheels.ky or register at caymanactive.com. See you there.
Starting November 1st to December 31st, you can earn double points every time you use your Fidelity credit or prepaid cards. That's not all. When you use your card on Black Friday or Cyber Monday, Fidelity's giving you triple points. That means you have a whole weekend to rack up 3 times the points for travel, merchandise, and more. And with added protection of instant text alerts, 90-day purchase protection, and chip and PIN technology, you can shop with confidence. Fidelity. We're good for you.
King Sports Center takes pride in being more than just an ordinary gymnasium.
For 14 years, their multi-purpose facility has been providing the community with a variety of sporting, recreational, and relaxation activities. King Sports Center has a bowling alley, lounge bar, multi-purpose rooms, powerhouse gym, rock climbing wall, bungee jumping, a 10,000 square foot rink, and so much more. For more information on the variety of services, call their friendly staff today at 946-5464 or email kings@candw.ky or visit www.kingsportscenter.com. King Sports Center, your one-stop shop for fitness, recreation, and relaxation.
ValueMed Pharmacy is your community care partner for health and wellness needs. We offer convenient prescription processing at the counter and online at value-medpharmacy.com. That's VALU-medpharmacy.com, with pickup available at the Walkers Road or Bodentown location. We also accept transfer prescriptions from other pharmacies. More than just a pharmacy, shop ValueMed for personal care and beauty products from trusted brands, perfume and gift sets, Hallmark and greeting cards, baby clothes, footwear, handbags, swimwear, home decor, toys, school supplies, and stationery. And home convalescence aids like wheelchairs, walkers, crutches, canes, and hospital beds. With 2 locations to serve you, Walkers Road in Georgetown and in Evron Plaza, Bodentown. Visit ValueMed, more than just a pharmacy.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back. Thank you for joining us. And I'm always grateful that we're having this continuing partnership with the HSA. And we're going to have sort of 2 rounds of discussion. First, we talk about World AIDS Day. And then at 2 o'clock, we get a chance to talk about orthopedic surgery and the like. And Dr. Pecco will join us. But now, Nurse Laurel Niskid, together with Ms. Carlene Vieira, joins us. If you don't mind, honestly, I enjoy these discussions. I'm mindful that as a society, we increasingly have public discourse on this. We have the chance to ask very candid, direct questions, and we become more comfortable as we become informed about the importance and hopefully dispel some of the myths, hopefully be able to be comfortable asking some of the questions, and very, very accessible when we get in testing. You have just some blood work just to make sure things are in order. Thank you all very much. It can't be easy, even with a small populace, but you make it so easy in a sense. So thanks very much, Nurse Laura.
Thank you very much for having us. Yeah, we're leading up to World AIDS Day, which is on the 1st of December every year. And HSA always marks this with a free week of HIV testing. So we do it every year and at all district clinics throughout the week. And we also partner with the Great Red Cross and do community testing. So actually after this, I'm going to the Red Cross this afternoon to do it. And then we also partner with a private clinic, and that's on Saturday. So we try and, as you say, make it easy for the population to come out and get the free HIV testing as much as possible, either at any district clinic or in the community or at a private clinic. So they can come in, have a confidential discussion and get their results either the next day or when a time is convenient to them.
Well, with respect to that, though, if I may ask, HIV in particular, and we do the testing, we understand by default or automatic, or is it by law, that they expect the mother as part of her, battery tests? This is one of the things that just happens. Does she have any say over it?
Not by law, but for the great good of the mother and the infant. Mm-hmm. It is part of their antenatal screening. Mm-hmm. It is part of their antenatal screening at HSA twice during their pregnancy, in the first trimester and in the last trimester. As we know that if we know someone's HIV status, we can treat them and they can live a long and healthy life. And that's the same as if someone is pregnant. So either before they're pregnant, if they know they're positive, we can treat them and they can have a healthy HIV negative baby. Or if they find out in the first trimester that they're positive, we can treat them and the baby can be born negative. Same can occur if they find out that they're HIV positive in their third trimester, but obviously it's a little closer to delivery time. But we have many mechanisms in place to prevent that treatment. So it's not law, it's policy. And if you see a private physician, they will also test you during pregnancy.
Yeah, and that sounds like a good practice, because I think as a result now we have been able to, eliminate mother-to-child transmission, which is sounds to me a good thing.
Absolutely, and I think one of the because part of the work that we've been doing for such a long time in partnership with HSA, and it has been breaking down the way in which transmission occurs. And HIV transmission either occurs through blood-to-blood contact, through unprotected sex, or mother-to-child transmission. And here in Cayman, after all this work that has been done when it comes to it, if you can eliminate one of the ways in which transmission can occur, it's a massive accomplishment. One of the things that in the earlier years that we used to advocate for was informed consent, just allowing the mother and whatnot to understand that, it's like this is one of the tests that is happening. And because I think there have been some changes in policy when it comes to ensuring that access to treatment and everything else is made available. Because, of course, it's in everybody's best interest for that baby to be born HIV negative. So I think it's something that is, we don't really toot our horns as much as Cayman should when it comes to this, but this is a massive accomplishment.
Yeah, an individual can opt out, but we rarely come across that because they understand it's not just about them, it's about the unborn baby as well.
Exactly, yeah.
And if someone is positive, if a mother is positive or a pregnant woman is positive, they don't want their child to be positive. They want to protect them as much as possible, and we can do that while she's still pregnant.
Well, and this is why over the years, we've been having this discussion every year and many times for the year, and I've become increasingly comfortable, not just having a discussion, but knowledgeable about it. Now I still have a lot more, and I keep asking sometimes the same thing, not just for my own edification, but I think repetition helps us to be able to recall and have the information so we can share. But the notion that we're dispelling some of the myths, getting away from some of the stigma. We go to our physician. We want to check up. Maybe it's just because we're concerned about our health. We want to make sure we're around, and we start a new job, and we need to. We ask for blood work, cholesterol, sugar, all these other things, but the HIV and the others, it's not there. And the question is, should it be just one other test that the physician checks the box? Look at your this and this and this, and this. Check them all.
Yeah, I think also the awareness has to be that we go to the doctor and they say, okay, we'll do some blood tests, make sure everything's okay. People might be under the impression that HIV is part of that, right. Checking everything is okay. That's not necessarily the case. As you said, they have to kind of tick that next box. They have to press that order for HIV or syphilis or chlamydia or all the other STIs. Yeah. So it is part of the awareness to be your own advocate and ask for that. And hopefully, you develop a relationship with your physician that you can feel comfortable doing that. If not, then you can come to our free week of testing as well.
Yeah, I want to ask about that because I was thinking, and I'll be careful, but hopefully by saying this, it'll encourage people. For those of us who maybe perceive, or we probably pretty sure we don't have anything to be concerned about, we go to get a test because we think, oh, well, yeah, you should be. You don't have to worry about, but what about the person isn't? But even for the individual who has no concerns, no qualms about it, may feel a bit of uneasiness. Wow, I'm going to get this test. It isn't the needle. It isn't the drawing of the blood. It's this thing, and that shouldn't be any different than, can you check my triglycerides? Can you check my sugar? Can you check my cholesterol? But it isn't. It is, wow, yeah, what if it? How do we get to a point where it's just, there's no big deal. I'm standing in line and just like I'm waiting for my flu shot, waiting for donate blood or whatever. Yeah, draw blood for this too. Easier said than done, Miss Carolina.
No, I think it's part of the awareness, right? When it comes to, I think a lot of, especially for us who grew up with, watching Tom Hanks in Philadelphia, or all of these things, that we have some very specific ideas as to what living with HIV or AIDS looks like, right? And it's just, and there's still that remnants of the quote unquote death sentence, and I know this because I've been doing HIV 101 101 for the better part of 15 years, you know, and it's just like, and some of the same questions still come up. And it's just a question of, you know, how do we get into the communities and whatnot that don't necessarily have that information, so that we can get to that point where we are, you know, people can see that this is just something else which can be treated. You can have a long life. You know, it's not that same sort of dark cloud and whatnot when it comes to this burden. There's a psychological aspect of it, of course, but from a medical perspective, and I know that Laura and I have discussed this in meetings, but I think that there are some countries where HIV is treated like other chronic diseases, right?
In medicine, you classify it as a chronic disease. So going to your nurse and you know, maybe you're getting your blood pressure checked, and they're asking you what are you here to see the doctor for? If you said I have HIV, I'm getting a checkup, they should be classifying just a chronic disease. The physician as well, but that's easy for us to say, Caroline and I, and the physicians and the other nurses, because we work in it and we know that early detection is key, treatment is key. We also have a great program where we say that if you're treated effectively, the amount of virus in your blood becomes undetectable, then you can't transmit it to other people. And again, for us, that is a great advancement in medicine. But we need to educate those people in the community about that as well, because to us, as Caroline said, it is a chronic illness.
Wow. And if you remember the way that, you know, the very little amount of sexual education that we may have had always focused around, you know, it's like the prevention of pregnancy and STIs, and it was like, this is the most horrible thing that could ever happen to you, and it's just, you know, and it was a way in which they thought it was effective to keep young people from deciding to engage in sexual activity early. And really what it has done is that it's just sort of added to the stigma and, you know, around both HIV and other STIs, you know, this notion of people being unclean and, you know, impure, and, you know, it's like, so if you add all those values to it as well, and you just look at it from that perspective instead of looking at it from the medical lens, then yeah, there's a lot that kind of comes with it. And, you know, that test then becomes a much more sort of, you know, complex thing that you do, other than, you know, let somebody poke you with the needle.
We also working towards an AIDS-free generation. So one of the steps, as we already spoke about, was, you know, the elimination of mother-to-child transmission, which, as Caroline said, if we can remove one of the transmissions, then that's a great success, which we have been validated for in Cayman. And if we can get early detection and people to know their HIV status, if they are positive, they can remain in the HIV positive stage for the rest of their life. And you're diagnosed in your 30s, you're going to live a long and healthy life, and it's just part of your medical. But if you don't have that HIV test done and you are HIV positive, then you would progress to the AIDS stage very quickly. And we want to remove that. So that's why we want to remove the AIDS-free generation. And we want to, you know, people still come in and ask for an AIDS test. And I try and educate them. Actually, we're not doing an AIDS test. We're doing an HIV test. And it kind of helps them understand, maybe, you know, take away that stigma from this test as well, that you're not getting that, as we said earlier, that quote unquote death sentence result. If it was to be positive, we have great steps in place and treatment in place.
All right, when we come after the break, tell us more about it. Tell us about the free testing week. Share with us, and hopefully with this discussion we feel more comfortable to ask questions, to be informed. Who knows, maybe have conversations, you know, within our families. All right, stay tuned for Talk Today.
Kirk Freeport's Black Friday weekend sale is bigger than ever, with up to 50% off an incredible selection of watches, jewelry, and accessories. And Kirk Freeport is giving early access to the sale on Thursday night, starting at 5 p.m. Bayshore Mall and Cardinal Avenue will stay open until 8 p.m., and the Strand will remain open until 9 p.m. Get unbeatable discounts from brands including John Hardy, Roberto Coin, Swarovski, Bulgari, Chopard, Marco Bisigo, Brogian, Masica, Doves, Ippolita, Lagos, Kipling, and many more. Plus, take an additional 10% off all non-branded merchandise. It's Black Friday all weekend at Kirk Freeport. Visit kirkfreeport.com for details.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Ambitious, determined, beautiful, and unapologetically uncompromising. You have set the bar high. Now let High Fashion and Design Studio take you to the next level. Full service hair and nail salon carrying the top designer brands. Calvin Klein, 9 West. Shoes, clothing, accessories, quality dressmaking, tailoring, and custom design. High Fashion and Design Studio, located in Cayman Trade Center, 199 Eastern Avenue, across from Bananas Restaurant. Call 945-4415 to book your high fashion and design experience today. Be bold, be true, be you.
Remember to discard all fresh fruits and vegetables, meats, all foods in canisters, dented, leaking, or rusting cans after they have come in contact with floodwater. Also, discard foods that are stored in cardboard boxes, paper foil, cellophane, and cloth, as well as those in open containers and packages. For more post-hurricane food safety tips, visit DEH website at deh.gov.ky.
CUC advises customers on Leeward Drive in North Sound Estates that they will experience interruptions to their electrical service on Wednesday, November 27th between 9 a.m. and 3 p.m. Areas affected include Leeward Drive from the junction with the Southward Drive North to and including 10-foot close. Streets affected include Water Street, White Sands Close, Lakeport Street, Moorhen Lane, Cunningham Street, Hurlston Street, Duggan Street, Bergman Lane, Panton Street, Jackie Street, Foy Street, Arnold Avenue, Archie Street, Sunrose Street, Reef Street, Brenda Street, Debbie Street, and Fay Street. Motorists are asked to drive with caution when using Leeward Drive and Water Street, as CUC will have a number of trucks and personnel in the area. CUC apologizes for this interruption, which is necessary to facilitate the upgrading of lines and poles to provide access for telecommunication companies offering high-speed fiber to customers in these areas. For more information on the outage, please contact CUC's customer service team at 949-5200 or email service@cuc.ky.
Black Friday starts early in the Georgetown Shopping District this Thursday with the Island Plaza and Kirk Freeport. From 5 till 8 p.m. this Thursday, the 28th of November, the Island Plaza, Cardinal Avenue, and Bayshore Mall will all be open till 8 p.m. to give you the first chance to get huge discounts on jewelry, watches, fragrances, sunglasses, and accessories, and much more at the Black Friday sale. Start your Black Friday shopping early this Thursday, the 28th of November in Georgetown. Search the Georgetown Shopping District on Facebook for more information.
Paramount Carpet pre-Christmas blowout sale is back for one whole week starting Monday, November 25th through Saturday, November 30th. Save big with assorted remnant tile, 200 square foot, $100 a pallet. Assorted remnant granite slabs, $300 each. Ceramic tiles as low as 75 cents per square foot. Porcelain tiles as low as 99 cents a square foot. Area rug, 35% off. Carpets, 25% off. And all other in-house tiles, 20% off. Cash and carry. It's the big blowout sale at Paramount Carpet, located 317 North Sound Road, Industrial Park. Open Monday to Friday, 7:30 a.m. to 5 p.m. and Saturday from 7:30 a.m. until 2 p.m. Call 949-5000.
We do a whole lot more than just cover your floor at Paramount Carpets.
The referendum for the cruise berthing and cargo facility is on the 19th of December. Will you be traveling or overseas on referendum day? You can still cast your vote by postal ballot. The deadline for postal ballot applications is December 7th. For more information about how to apply, visit www.elections.ky and get set to vote.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon and welcome back. Thanks for joining us in the studio as we talk about World AIDS Day. And I'm very grateful, but also mindful that, wow, time goes fast when you're being informed. So from the Red Cross, Ms. Carolina Ferreira, and the ST and HIV Program Coordinator at HSA, Nurse Laura Elniski. Thanks very much for sharing this. I know for some of us, it is a difficult discussion. Just some of the words alone, even those of us who are parents and adults and the like, I can share that it was for me initially, well, how do I understand this? What questions do I ask? And over time, like anything else, you ask questions, you get truthful answers, you become much better adept at being able to have a conversation. So thanks very much. Now, World AIDS Day and the free HIV testing week takes place soon.
Yeah, we started yesterday. So at every district clinic throughout this week, there'll be testing. So at Georgetown, it's every morning between 9 and 1, as well as at Bodentown Health Centre between 9 and 1 till Friday. West Bay, you've still got time on Thursday and Friday morning between 9 and 1. East End Health Centre, you have between Wednesday, Thursday and Friday between 9 and 1. Northside will be Wednesday and Friday between 9 and 1. 9 and 1 on Friday and 1 and 3 in the afternoon on Wednesday. This afternoon, that's Tuesday and Thursday afternoon, I will be at Cayman Corporate Centre at the Cayman Islands Red Cross on Hospital Road. And then on Saturday morning, we partner with 7 Mile Medical Clinic between 9 and 11. There's also testing at Faith Hospital every morning between 9 and 1. And then on Thursday, it will be at Little Cayman Clinic between 9 and 1.
And this is just I don't want to say just a blood test, because some of us that's like, oh, that's too much, but it's a blood test.
It's a simple blood test, yeah. Don't take too much blood. Your body hasn't even missed it. Replenish very quickly. We test for HIV antibodies and antigens. So, as I said, it's not an AIDS test, it's an HIV antibody and antigen test. So we used to talk about a window period as well, where you could test negative while being positive. And that window period used to be 3 to 6 months. However, now that we have, and we've had for a while now, the antigen test, we can reduce that window period down to 2 weeks. So between 2 weeks and 6 weeks is our window period instead of 3 to 6 months. And that means that, we are able to treat effectively if there is a positive result. We don't give a diagnosis just off this one test. It is a screening test. It's a very good screening test. But if something was to come back reactive, we would send for confirmation tests. So we take further blood, actually that goes overseas, and we take a positive result from those tests.
So just for edification, someone comes in today for a test. Should they have had a period of time where there were no activity? She likes how I say that.
I love it. They're just like, abstain before your test. And it's just like, instead of the no food, it's a no sex diet. Okay.
So you need to fast for a while?
That'll make you cry, wouldn't it? Laura can get into it. I think one of the most important things that your healthcare provider, in this case, would be Nurse Laura if you're coming to see her, is to actually have a discussion with you about, different things. And it's not to just get into your business, but it really and truly is to determine.
So she talks to you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Well, that's between us, Sterling. Thank you. But it's about, trying to figure out whether or not there's a possibility you may be testing within that window period. And of course, now that there's been such advancement in the test, it's it's like a much more concise conversation when it comes to it. But absolutely, you'll see, and Nurse Laura can kind of go into more detail, that they may be, your health service provider might be asking you questions, and that's really just to try to figure out whether or not you may have exposed yourself to a certain level of risk that you may not necessarily be fully aware of.
But if they have any further questions, it's 244-2507 or Carolina.
Or 916-1742.
Before 8 and after 9. No, but I hopefully in trying to laugh, it isn't to make light of it, but it's to make people understand that honestly, it should be just like you asking to make sure your cholesterol and your glucose and all other things, so that your health is your wealth.
Yeah, and I think that the first time you do it is probably most nerve-wracking, and a lot of people will say, especially at the Red Cross Clinic on Tuesday mornings that we do throughout the year, is, oh, that was really quick and easy. And, you know, they then will probably come back later on and do another test, because they do realize it's not as difficult or as nerve-wracking as they thought.
Well, please, every time, anytime, if we can help to educate and involve, let us know. Always a pleasure. Nurse Laura.
Thank you very much for having us.
Ms. Carolina.
Thank you, sir.
I will say the same. But no, thank you both very much. And you make a difficult topic so easy to understand and to engage. So thanks very much.
No.
All right, to our listeners, we continue our partnership with the Health Services Authority. When we come back, Dr. Pecco will join us. We'll get a chance to share with you something exciting and new that is going to be unfolding very shortly. So stay tuned for Talk Today.
Today's biggest news.
Radio K-Man. It's only 2 species that we have here on Island.
Generations present.
Your voice, your choice.
For today's biggest news.
Access.
Local, regional, international. This is headlines from Radio Cayman's newsroom team.
Today's biggest news.
The Public Health Department confirms since the last update on November 8th, 37 additional results have been received from the Caribbean Public Health Agency, confirming 8 new cases of dengue in the Cayman Islands. Of these 8, 3 patients had travelled to a country with year-round transmission of dengue, while 5 had no travel history, which suggests that person acquired dengue within the Cayman Islands. This brings the total number of confirmed dengue results since the first locally transmitted case in October 2019 to 14 locally transmitted and 9 imported cases. In news elsewhere, a Catholic order placed a pedophile priest on church property where a summer camp for children was taking place after a year-long CNN investigation revealed new allegations of child abuse against him. Father Luke Delft was recalled to Belgium in June this year after CNN informed the order that 2 boys in the Central African Republic had accused Delft of abusing them. At least 18 people have been killed, several more are missing, and hundreds have been injured after an earthquake struck Albania on Tuesday. The quake, which had a preliminary rating of 6.4 magnitude, hit the European nation at approximate depth of 20 kilometers, that's 12 miles, early Tuesday local time, according to the United States Geological Survey. 3 men falsely convicted of murder in the U.S. state of Maryland have been set free after 36 years in prison. Alfred Chestnut, Andrew Stewart, and Ransom Watkins had been sentenced to life in 1984 for killing a 14-year-old boy a year earlier. They were freed in Baltimore on Monday after a judge cleared their convictions following a review of their case. The case was reopened this year after Mr. Chestnut sent a letter to Baltimore's Conviction Integrity Unit. He included evidence he had uncovered last year. Those are your latest updates here on Radio Cayman. I'm Shanda Gallego.
Stay in touch with Radio Cayman for the latest in news and information.
Follow Radio Cayman on social media, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. Download the Radio Cayman app or log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky.
Radio Cayman, your voice, your choice, your radio.
Starting November 1st to December 31st, you can earn double points every time you use your Fidelity credit or prepaid cards. That's not all. When you use your card on Black Friday or Cyber Monday, Fidelity's giving you triple points. That means you have a whole weekend to rack up 3 times the points for travel, merchandise, and more. And with added protection of instant text alerts, 90-day purchase protection, and chip and PIN technology, you can shop with confidence. Fidelity. We're good for you.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waiting to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today, and thanks very much for listening to us, but equally for this continued partnership with the Health Services Authority. And now many of us have gone, and we've had a good company of Dr. Pecco, the orthopedic surgeon over at the Cayman Health Services Authority. A special public good afternoon to you. First time for you to join us, so we're glad that you're able to make some time out of your day.
Well, thank you for inviting me. It's great to be here and have an opportunity to discuss our
coming meeting.
Yes, and I'm excited because, as was shared with me, the notion that we're able to leverage some of the strengths and strategies to recognize that the professionals we have on this side of the pond and our friends and family on the other side. Sometimes the more that we are different, we realize how much more alike we are.
Correct. Even if there are quite a lot of differences between the countries and the cultures and the people, I still think that orthopedically wise, we are all treating similar kind of conditions. Of course, the environment where we treat may vary quite significantly, but still we are trying to tackle the same issues and questions and problems.
And I think too, the more we look at things that seemingly are different, or diets, perhaps the fact that maybe one place geographically has mountains or the weather is different, it's easy sometimes to see the differences. But if we look closely in for a second, we can see so many similarities,
Absolutely. Of course, the climate makes a big difference in the amount of injuries, because half of the year back in Finland we have winter weather and slippery conditions, and there tends to be a lot more falls and accidents related to the weather.
And probably when you think of our activities here in Cayman, it may be summer, people at the beach, water skiing. Do they still water ski? But some, water-based activity. Or they're running more, perhaps longer.
Yeah, I agree. Most likely we run equally much, but I think as Finns we run more in slippery conditions and
with a question.
Exactly.
Right. I'm told there is an inaugural event that is about to take place. There's something that's launched, and I said if you to share with our listeners. I mean, what is the name of this event, or when will it be held? I mean, share with us.
Yeah. So this coming week, starting. Actually, on the 1st of December, we are having a meeting called Finnish Caymanian Orthopedic Society meeting. The foreign delegates and faculty starts to arrive during the coming weekend, and the official registration of the delegates will be on Monday, and the actual presentations and the meeting will happen on the 3rd, 4th and 5th of December here at the HSA.
All right. And this is, I think, the partnership. Now, for this event, sort of, who's the specific audience? Who can attend? Who's invited?
Because of the topics are quite specific and detailed in the topics we discuss, we are offering this meeting to healthcare providers, doctors, nurses, physiotherapists, and so on, who might have interest towards orthopedics and traumatology.
All right. Now you share in that vein the topics, but can you expound more? Tell us more about the topics, the activities. What's on the agenda?
Well, we will discuss quite a wide spectrum of orthopedic conditions, from degenerative joint diseases, osteoarthritis, different ways to manage it, from conservative management all the way to operative management, including topics about more complex cases and complex conditions that require some specific and special skills. We also talk about common injuries, fractures, how to manage them conservatively and operatively. Also, we will discuss the pre-operative management of the patient, the anesthesia during the operation, and of course pain management and rehabilitation after the operations.
Yeah, sometimes we look at the post-op, but as you said, the pre-operative aspect of it, the preparation of the patient, the notion that what we do could contribute to a much better outcome if we... Yeah.
Absolutely. A lot of patients will benefit from pre-operative physio and pain management as well.
Right. As we speak to Dr. Pecco, the orthopedic surgeon over at the HSA, you referenced this conference being catered to the healthcare professionals, orthopedics, physiotherapists, and the like. But for those in the sector who want to attend, do they need the RSVP? How do they go about saying, hey, I would like to be a part of this?
Well, The registration happens through email to me at pekko.kuusala@hsa.ky. If there are still healthcare providers who would like to attend, please let me know, and we will try to accommodate. As said, the presentations will be on the coming Tuesday and Thursday, so both days or one of them are still available. But yes, please send me an email and I will register you.
All right. Now, we recognize that conferences, whether in the healthcare sector, whether in the finance, there's usually a cost to the attendees. For those who want to attend, the healthcare professionals, how much is it?
Well, actually, the participation is for free. At the moment, we have been fortunate that HSA is providing us the venue to host this event, and thus we are not collecting money from the local delegates.
All right.
I want to just mention that the venue will be the HSA Smith Road location, which is the new building that HSA is using.
Okay, and certainly before we close out, remind the venue and certainly how the potential participants can register. But as we go to our break, Dr. Becker, you were sharing, this is for the professionals. There is no cost. They just need to email you to get registered. But when we look at the idea that conferences, again, for professionals, not just to remain licensed and, sort of on the register, they need to get their continuing education units, their medical, the CMEs in the sector. Sometimes that's overseas at great cost, not just financially, but the time away from their patients, their families, their practice. In this instance, those are attending, are there any CMEs that would accrue to them?
Absolutely. If they attend the whole meeting, they will be eligible for 11 hours of CME points. So
11.
I think it's quite a good number. So yeah. I think it tells a lot about the scientific program that we have. We have really world-class speakers and super specialists in their areas of expertise.
All right. When we come back from the break, could we ask of you launching the Finnish Caymanian Orthopedic Society and how that could benefit our patients and the practice here, that partnership. Could you maybe share more with us? Because I think leveraging knowledge can be beneficial there. But so after a break, could we get into that somewhat?
Of course.
All right.
Yeah.
We're going to continue speaking to Dr. Pekko. And for me, man, if we see the resources and opportunities here and our people are improved, hey, why not? All right, stay tuned for Talk Today.
Ocean Med is open for appointments at Bayshore Mall. The only healthcare facility on island designed exclusively for women offers a wide range of radiology-based medical screening and diagnostic tests, such as mammograms and ultrasounds, with state-of-the-art technology, full OBGYN services, a complimentary healthcare coordinator, and a stunning facility equipped with calming, multi-sensory exam suites. Ocean Med is dedicated to providing competitively priced healthcare excellence to women in our community. Book your appointment today. Call 946-2326 or visit oceanmed.ky.
Radio Cayman has always worked to showcase the best of our sister islands of Cayman Brac and Little Cayman. From coverage of the agriculture shows, special Talk Today broadcasts, and church services. 4 years ago, we launched the Brac Breeze Fusion 5K Walk Run. In our inaugural year, we raised funds for the Harmony Learning Center. In year 2, for the Lions Club of Cayman Brac Kids Pantry. And last year, the So and So Club. This year, the Brac Breeze Fusion will be raising funds for the Leo's Club of Cayman Brac. To all of our Cayman Brac families, we invite you to join us on Saturday, November 30th at 6:30 a.m. Southside Public Beach. Step by step, we can do it.
Cayman Brac, yes, it is your turn. The Breeze Fusion 5K Walk Run.
Register today at District Administration.
Don't miss the early Black Friday savings at BrandSource Home Gallery in Industrial Park. Beat the crowds and save now on Samsung TVs. Get a 65-inch Samsung 4K TV for only $599, or a 55-inch 4K for only $449, and 45-inch 4Ks are just $299. But hurry to BrandSource now because supplies are limited. Brand Source Home Gallery in Industrial Park on Dorsey Drive. Beat the crowds and save now. Call 623-5000 for more information.
Preventing dengue is as simple as preventing mosquito bites. Use a mosquito repellent, wear protective clothing, and stay indoors during early dawn and dusk when mosquitoes are most active. Control the places around you where mosquitoes breed. Remove stagnant water in outdoor and household settings. As a weekly habit, persons should change the water in vases, clear the water in saucers under potted plants, and ensure air conditioner drip trays are free of stagnant water. Outdoor objects capable of holding water should be kept empty and preferably disposed of or put into dry storage if not used. These include open bottles and tins, watering cans, buckets, empty paint tins, and old vehicle tires. Do your part to control the spread of dengue. The dengue virus is an infectious disease transmitted through mosquito bites. Symptoms may come on as early as 4 days or as late as 3 weeks following an infection. There is no vaccine or specific medication to treat dengue. Symptoms of dengue include high fever, headache, pain behind the eyes, joint and muscle pain, and rash. If persons have any of these symptoms, they should go to the nearest health center or hospital. It is advised to drink lots of liquids and avoid medication that contains aspirin.
Imagine a Cayman where you can go out and enjoy an evening with your family and get home safe and sound because you decided to do exactly what you said you would.
Or a night out with your girlfriends to bring in the new year with plans to head to as many venues as you can.
What about a happy hour with your colleagues to celebrate without worrying about who was driving you home? Well, guess what? Your wish is my command. Take the pledge, designate a driver, or ride the Purple Ribbon bus on New Year's Eve. We want you to arrive alive, 345. This message was brought to you by Radio Cayman and the National Drug Council.
Kirk Freeport's Black Friday weekend sale is bigger than ever, with up to 50% off an incredible selection of watches, jewelry, and accessories. And Kirk Freeport is giving early access to the sale on Thursday night, starting at 5 p.m. Bayshore Mall and Cardinal Avenue will stay open until 8 p.m., and the Strand will remain open until 9 p.m. Get unbeatable discounts from brands including John Hardy, Roberto Coin, Swarovski, Bulgari, Chopard, Marco Bisigo, Brogian, Masica, Doves, Ippolita, Lagos, Kipling, and many more. Plus, take an additional 10% off all non-branded merchandise. It's Black Friday all weekend at Kirk Freeport. Visit kirkfreeport.com for details.
Talk today. But I do have some questions. Talk today.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners' participation program.
Talk today.
Because there are more questions than answers.
What the public is saying.
Waging to take your calls right now. Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, good afternoon. Welcome back to Talk Today, and thanks for joining us. And truly is a pleasure to welcome to our studio Dr. Pecco, the orthopedic surgeon over at the Health Services Authority. The inauguration of the Finnish Caymanian Orthopedic Society, the notion that you have a conference coming up, not just awarding the healthcare professionals 11 CMEs for their attendance, but the notion that through this we could see improved strategies, leveraging not just the technologies and the techniques, the experience and expertise, but building greater partnerships. Now, from that perspective, with respect to the partnership, how would this Finnish Caymanian partnership be of benefit to the healthcare professionals, but to their patients as well?
Yeah, I think there is huge benefits in it to be able to create a network of professionals to interact, share information and their knowledge. Also for us to see that we are doing and managing patients up to date properly, like the best centers in the world are. Most of the speakers come from a hospital back in Finland called Coxa, Hospital for Joint Replacement, and it was just recently published that Coxa, out of all OECD countries, has the highest and best patient outcomes in total hip and knee replacements. So they are absolutely world-class providers, and I think if we can learn from them, it's a great thing. And also for them to learn about us, how we do things, how our special environment affects us, and I can also see it as an opportunity to possibly recruit people in the future, because there is no doubt that Cayman is very, very attractive place for people to come and live. The quality of life here is great, and hopefully we can find good employees in the future.
And as I listen to you, that opportunity to recruit could go across many different sectors, but equally the potential opportunity for those who are employed here, that student for an internship, that working professional for a secondment to get added experience. It may be challenging because of family and other reasons, but for that person to develop better, be exposed and introduced to other techniques and technologies and environments can only benefit the person. But if they return to the country of origin and apply that can raise the bar for everybody else, So
and I think we all work for the best possible patient outcomes, and we are trying to ensure that we are at the same level as the top hospitals in the world are.
And I'm mindful that for some of us, we may think, well, driving from West Bay to East End is so far, or leaving Grand Cayman and going over to the BRAC, that's a flight, that's so far. But in today's world, from Cayman to Finland, well, it's not really far. I mean, you can call on the phone right now, you can video conference, but hop in a flight and what my mother say, 2 skips and a jump and you're right there.
Telemedicine is a very big thing, and it's becoming more and more important in the future. And I currently use it often in special cases that we rarely see here, and I consult my colleagues back in Finland, in England, Australia, to discuss these cases and what is the best way to manage. So I think networking and collaboration is crucial for us and internationally as well.
But you mentioned something, Dr. Pecco, that perhaps for some it may have been in the past like getting the professional having the opportunity to attend conferences for the CME in order to remain registered and current. But equally, for that practicing professional, the physician, who may, because of this relatively smaller size of the marketplace, may not get the opportunity to engage in certain procedures. With the advancement of telemedicine, with the networking, as you mentioned, that physician can still remain at the very least aware, involved, and active in these endeavors, so that again the patient here isn't precluded from the best expertise.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm a strong supporter of utilizing all our connections in providing the best possible care we can here.
Right. Now, from the Cayman perspective, for our listeners, and we're looking at, in your instance as an orthopedic surgeon, what are the orthopedic services that are available at HSA? For those of us who don't know or may not be full up to speed, can you share with us some of the stuff?
Yes. Currently we offer most orthopedic procedures and treatments available. There are certain niche areas like spine surgery, tumor surgery, which should only be done in major centers because of the numbers. We have just expanded our services by recruiting a Dr. Allan Larsen from Denmark. He is a specialist in foot and ankle, hand and sports orthopedics. So he gives a great boost to our functions. Of course, my subspecialty is total joint replacement surgery, and also we treat most injuries and fractures and trauma that happens.
Yeah. And we look at the instance where it may be a mishap because of some activity. It could be an industrial issue. It could just be a most unfortunate thing. But if that person suffers a traumatic experience and don't have the resources available, traveling to the nearest center off island could be compromising.
Correct. Absolutely. And we use the same equipment and instrumentations that all the top hospitals do. We have just renewed our trauma sets that are now state of art. So I think we are prepared and ready to offer good service for the island.
Well, as someone from the outside has a perception, I think if we continue to try to improve, we leverage the resources, we invest both the financial as well as the human, we're going to improve it for us. Not just the wider populace, but what if it was us, the individual, who, wow, all of a sudden, because of something, we need this treatment, this surgery, this procedure. Wouldn't it be nice to know this available?
Absolutely, yeah. I think at least I personally would rather be treated here on Cayman than needing to travel overseas to receive treatments. So investing in that is in the interest of the whole nation.
Well, I commend you for spearheading this Finnish Caymanian Orthopedic Society and the Orthopedic Conference that you have, because it's going to give, as you shared, the healthcare professionals, whether it's the physician, whether it's the physiotherapist, all of a sudden they like the opportunity to maybe network, maybe leverage their contacts, perhaps exchange ideas and information, and hopefully benefit the wider sector, but the patient base as well.
Correct. And who knows, maybe somebody from Cayman will decide to go to Finland for a visit and see how they are offering health services and care for their patients.
That can only benefit us if it improves, and whatever changes are positive can only be better. Now, if I may ask, I really appreciate you taking some time to come over with us. The walk sometimes from HSA to the Radio Cayman studio can seem like a long one. Huh? But with that, for those who want more information, for those who want to register, we're talking in a couple of days' time, this conference is on the way. How would they register? It's no cost, as you shared, but how would they go about it?
Yeah, so just send me an email at pekko.kuusala@hsa.ky, and I'm sure we can still fit a couple of people in. The seats are limited though, so please hurry up and be active, and hopefully we will have a great meeting. I'm really excited about this, and so are my friends and colleagues who are arriving in the coming days.
Excellent, man. Well, seats are limited. The cost is non-existent, so it's free to those who attend. And 11 CMEs. I have one or two friends who are in the sector, and 11 is a lot, because sometimes it's hard to find the opportunity to travel overseas when necessary to make sure that they are current. And the licensing, though, they don't play around this here, right?
That's right.
They got to get them in.
And I can't emphasize enough that the quality of the speakers are amazing. So I'm sure people will benefit.
Well, I trust and pray that your colleagues who are visiting not only have a very safe flight, here and back, but a wonderful time here, and the information shared leads to lasting bridges and partnerships.
Correct. Yeah, I'm really excited, and I'm sure they will also enjoy and experience the Cayman kind.
Well, there you go, man. Dr. Pekko, thank you very, very much, and to you and your colleagues and all the entire team at HSA. It's amazing what this small society, it's a small place, some say a poor society stamp on the map, small in terms of its population despite our increasing growth, small in terms of the budget, but it's still an amazing place, incredible in this wealth of knowledge and experience. Huh?
Correct. This is a paradise, and we have nothing to be ashamed of.
Amen to that, brother. Well, thank you very much, sir. Have a blessed afternoon. And to those who are in the sector, well, the conference gets on the way, and as Dr. Pekko said, just send them an email. Be a part of it. Space is limited, but its cost is free. All right, tomorrow, Miss Susan, is Wednesday. I was thinking tomorrow's Thursday. I'm so excited. It's Wednesday tomorrow. So please join me start in the morning for the record. Come back for Talk Today. We got a number of things in store for you, including a wonderful discussion that's going to take us sort of midway in the program. Of course, Two Flex will be on after Talk Today. But hey, that's until then. In the meantime, listen to Miss Susan and be blessed.
Talk Today is brought to you by Fidelity Bank. For all your banking needs, visit fidelitygroup.com. Fidelity, we're good for you.
Shaken yet standing firm. This is Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands.